Greetings from Boston, everyone. I'm Elena Surilov, the Associate Director of International Engagements at the Office of Alumni Relations. On behalf of Northeastern University and myself, I hope you and your family are staying safe and healthy during this turbulent time. Welcome to our third session on Raja Yoga meditation, brought to us by Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University. Each session works as a standalone experience or as a part of the whole series of 6 sessions, and you will explore the relationship with yourself, with others, with you, and with our rapidly changing world. Before we proceed to our official program, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please keep your microphones on mute and video off during the program. I would like to stress that the only way you can ask a question is to type it in the Q&A section in the bottom of your screen. Please do not use the raise hand function as we are monitoring only Q&A section. I also recommend that you put your view in Zoom on speaker view. There's a button on the right top corner of your screen to do that. Also, if there's not too much trouble for you, I will be helpful for us to see your full names. To rename yourself, you can click on participants and hover the mouse over your name to click the more button. From there, you can click, rename, and update. Without further ado, I would like to turn the microphone to our Istanbul community leader, Hilal Orhan, graduated from the Momarkim School of Business in 2003 with an MBA degree. Hilal has been leading the Istanbul community since its official launch in 2009 and proved to be a true Northeastern supporter. Hilal is the one who wanted to share her Brahma Kumari experience with our constituencies. Hilal?
A very good evening from the rose capital of Turkey. Everyone, welcome. I have the privilege of saying actually both. Thank you for inviting us and also welcome. Now, the university that one is about science and the other is about silence. University that about silence brings us together. And in that silence, actually, humanity discovered many inventions and many things. And in that silence, actually, we are together now, today, and we are in that silence creating a vision about ourselves and a vision about our future. And in that vision, actually, I feel like an artist. You know, an artist have a palette and, picks the colors that likes. And in that vision, actually, I feel like I'm creating a picture that, to my liking and to our liking for our future in this world. So that's my feelings and how I've been doing since I become a student of this University of Life. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing our guest speakers, our speakers. And so the microphone is over to you, Philippa. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Hilal. Thank you for that really beautiful metaphor of having this palette of colors, and it's up to us to choose what painting we paint and what colors we use and where we go with that painting. And thanks as well to Yelena, most especially for hosting this series of programs. It has been a fascinating journey so far. As Yelena says, this is the third program in our series of 6. We're calling the whole series Inner Change, Outer Transformation. So that's the overriding theme. And in a way, the programs are exploring some of the issues that arise from easy Raja Yoga meditation, that being the yoga of the mind. Well, my name is Philippa Blackham, and I'm going to be with you throughout this exploration as we look at learning how to adapt and transcend to all the different challenges that are going on in the world at the moment. That was very much the focus of our session last time, learning how to rise above and not allow things to affect us in a way that isn't helpful. Now, today we are looking at ways to sustain ourselves through these difficult times and how we can create a vision, not just for ourselves, but for our families, for our neighborhood, for our community, for our country, and ultimately a vision for the future of the world. So this session is called Create Your Vision, Color Your World. And in many ways, it could be argued that the vision for our future direction has very much been driven by the younger generation, certainly in recent years. They've been pushing awareness on environment, mobilizing action on loss of biodiversity, on climate change, also encouraging more and more people to adopt a plant-based diet. And yet, when you look at the impact of the pandemic, it's very often this younger generation who have been most affected as they struggle to find jobs, establish themselves in careers, maybe plans for travel have had to go on hold. Even something as simple as getting together with a group of friends is a huge challenge. So tonight's session, although it applies to all of us, I think it particularly applies to the younger generation, because they're at that stage in their life when they really are needing a sense of direction, a sense of vision, and ultimately a sense of hope. So that's where we're going to be going on this journey. So let me introduce you to the first of our visionary thinkers for today's conversation. She comes from Halifax in Atlantic Canada, and she's been practicing Raja Yoga meditation for 23 years and has run a consulting business for 35 years in organization and leadership development. Now, her skill is one of enabling a process of deep change to take place in the hearts of both individuals and of organizations. And so we're very much hoping that she'll be able to guide us with some of those principles in today's session. She lived in Indonesia as a young adult and has worked in Latin America, in Asia, in the Middle East. So really her inspiration comes from right across the world. Judy Johnson, all the way from Halifax, thank you so much for being with us for tonight's session.
Hello, Philippa.
That's lovely.
Thank
There
you.
she is. There she is.
Thank you for
Great
the
to see you. And
invitation.
I can imagine, Judy, that with all this change that's going on and the need for individuals and companies to adapt to this change, that your demands are more in demand than ever before. Have you noticed a real need for people to have support at the moment?
I have noticed from individual leaders, I don't think in their organizations they're thinking about sustaining their people or the spirit. They're getting really hardcore practical about how to stay alive. So they're in surviving mode, not thriving mode. And so, yeah, I would tend to help the leaders thrive so that they can help their organizations at this point survive.
And it really is for many a question of just simply that, surviving.
It really is.
I saw a lovely quote this week, which was, if you're not making it up as you go along, then you're out of touch with reality. And that does very much feel all our lives at the moment. We're just responding to things as they come. So let me extend a warm welcome to our second guest for tonight's conversation, Aruna Ladva. Now, Aruna was pretty quick out of the starting block when it came to knowing what she wanted to do with her life. She first experienced meditation at the age of 8, and by the age of 14, she knew what she was going to do. Now, she has a family background from India, although she herself was born in Kenya, educated in England, worked in Canada, and since then has lived in many different parts around the world, including New York, Istanbul, Cairo, Hong Kong, and throughout the Middle East. And now Aruna is happily settled in Kuwait. So you could describe her really as a one-woman United Nations. Now, her life path has brought her to the place where she's at now, which is a very successful author of 8 books on self-development with titles like It's Time to Meditate, It's Time to Do the Inner Work, it's time for self-empowerment, and it's time for change, as well as a book on conflict resolution, which Aruna is trained in too. Now, she's been writing a blog since, I think it's about 2010, on all aspects of what it means to be a human in the current era, not just surviving as a human, but thriving as a human, which Judy was just touching on there. And you can follow her blog. There's an It's Time Facebook page. Aruna, all the way from Kuwait, it's wonderful to have you with us as well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank
There
you for
she
having
is.
me.
There she is.
Thank you. Kimberly.
Now, your blog is very much about inspiring and bringing about positive change in people's lives. Have you found this year it has been particularly hard to keep people positive in their day-to-day lives? Has that been a challenge?
Yes, definitely. And but I just try to keep reinforcing the point that there's no other option. There's no other way. We have to stay positive. Otherwise we will get sucked in to the negative, and there's no real outcome with the negative. So that's what I've been trying to do, is just keep reinforcing the positive through the blog.
I guess the question which we'll be exploring in this session is, how you get from not feeling positive to a place where you can at least feel some hope and a sense of your life going forwards. But we'll come on to that in just a moment. Before we do, we had a little homework task from our last session, which was for each person to consider their own lives and think about one change that they could make that would really make a positive difference in their life, that would make their life flow more easily. And if so, was there one step that you could take that would bring you closer to having that more positive thing in your life? I don't know if either of you got a chance in the last fortnight to reflect on that, but Judy, would you have anything in your life that you would say, yeah, this is going to be something that I'm going to work on and introduce into my life now?
Well, it's, I guess for me, it's the small things that make a really big difference. So for me, it would be half hour to bed earlier every night. That's it. It seems really silly, but small little thing, big difference. And it'll just mean turning off my mind earlier. It's a simple choice to turn it off. And I keep it going for an extra half hour. That would be it.
I think that is so simple. My thing is I often check my Facebook when I should be switching the light off and going to sleep. And you can find half an hour, if not 45 minutes has gone past. And so I agree with you. That's a simple change that is a good one to inculcate. Aruna, what about you? What would you say your change or difference that you would like to bring to your life would be?
Yes, I did think about this, Julia. The thing is, I do hatha yoga every now and then, but I really should do it daily or more regularly. And the thing is, I do a lot of meditation, but I need to spend more time flexing my body too. So I think, given my age now, I think it's important that I dedicate time to that. Yes.
I love that. I'm going to take inspiration as well. And I think that this stage in life, if you invest in your bodily health, then it will look after you for the years to come.
Exactly.
You can get away with it when you're younger, but at this stage in life, you have to really start having a focus. So those are two very inspiring and practical next steps. So thank you both very much for that. Judy, before we get into our conversation properly, it'd be lovely just to settle our energies and kind of put to one side anything that we've been doing up until this point, because everyone joining us today has given themselves the chance of this next hour to really be with themselves and reflect deeply on some of these deeper issues. So if you could just kickstart us in that process with a few moments of gathering our energy and being in stillness, that would be lovely.
Sure. I usually I like to start with my body. So wherever you're sitting, if you just want to maybe close your eyes for this, actually, just close your eyes, which makes you come inside to your inner world. And it's really helpful just to be aware of the worlds around you. And I'm going in. And first of all, just focus in on your body. Just adjust it so that wherever you're sitting, it actually feels comfortable, that there's no strain on the body in any way. And then maybe just a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, hold it just for a little bit, and then release it very, very slowly. So we're sort of taking control of my inner world. Another deep breath in. Breathe in fresh energy. Hold it. Imagine it circulating throughout your whole body, and then slowly release. Just feel your shoulders settle, your body sink into the chair. One more deep breath in. Just be aware of your breath. This keeps us grounded in the present moment. And then to tune in, I'm going to ask you to see if you can concentrate your attention enough to actually feel your heartbeat. This kind of focus is about being present and here and now. Now visualize, if you can, a thread of energy from your heart all the way up to the center of your forehead, behind the eyes. This is where the human spirit sits in the body. And I'd like you just to visualize, since this evening's talk is around vision and creation and coloring, I'd like you just to imagine there's a studio in your head. Huge, spacious, beautiful studio. And the walls are white in this studio. And with every thought you have, it emerges like a little splash of paint and goes onto the walls in your mind, which is essentially the room in your head. And we do this all day. We paint the inside of our minds with our thoughts, but for just this next moment, if you can select a color you associate with peace. And then I'd like you just to paint this beautiful white studio in your head, studio of your mind, with this color. And then to visualize using the power of imagination, asking you just to visualize, what does peace look like for you? So some symbol or metaphor, something that reflects peace. Just hold this image for about 20 seconds. As you breathe in comfortably, holding the energy, the color, and the image of peace in your mind. Now you can add any color you want. And you can fill your mind, you can paint the inside of this studio of your mind, any color you want. And this, of course, is our practice and our topic for today. So with a deep breath in, welcome to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy. Very happily there in my studio.
What color was it?
And,
What color was it, Philippa, for you?
For me, it was more like of a turquoise blue, which is lovely, and you know, it's a color that I find very soothing and quite spiritual in a way. But as I was sitting there, I was really getting this sense of the year that we're just coming to the end of. And in times gone by, you know, we would have naturally had a sense of our path unfolding ahead of us and coming up with plans, ideas, getting excited about things that we were going to do. But this year has been very much about closing down, you know, getting accustomed to just small things and small pleasures in life, like just meeting up with a friend or maybe even just going to a shop. It can feel like our horizon has been shrinking and that our ambition has been shrinking with it. What advice would you say to people who are feeling that, you know, far from having a vision and being able to paint the town red or to color the world, they're just in this survival mode that you're talking about and feeling a little bit despondent as a result of that? I mean, it's a question for both of you, but if I can just bring you first, Judy, to that, what would you say?
I think it's true for all of us that our world has shrunk, and you know, when we think about vision, so people used to say, "Oh, you have a small vision. Don't have such a small vision for yourself. Have a big vision." And what I've discovered this year, and I think I've known this through the work I've done, it's less about size of vision and it's more about how saturated is your vision. So what's the tone, the quality, the texture of your vision? And for me, I feel like what this year has done is it's sort of clarified what I really, really want. And sometimes when you have a lot of what you want, you don't really stop to think about what do I really, really want. And I see my friends and I see my colleagues doing that as well. As their physical playground has shrunk, the playground in the mind has expanded, and or at least the gate has opened to that. Some have stepped in and taken up meditation, taken up things to help them flourish or to help them sustain creativity, energy, imagination. But I feel like in our connection to our theme of a vision, that it's got more to do with kind of what do I really, really want? And then giving that enough attention that it becomes quite a saturated image. And then that's what draws me. I feel for many people when I ask, you know, what's the year been like? And once we get past the challenges, the coping strategies, it inevitably comes to somehow COVID has given us something that we actually wanted or needed, even if we didn't know we wanted or needed that. And that can be at the stripped away, I'm not talking income and well-being at the physical level, but stripped away to what I need to do to stay healthy and whole inside myself. And I think with that, the pictures are becoming clearer for what we really, really want and what makes life, you know, worth living.
I think it's certainly made us appreciate what we do have in our life and maybe what we did have and would like to have back in our lives again. But Aruna, before we use this word vision too many times, it might just be useful to hear what your understanding of vision is, because of course vision means to be able to see. For some people with a religious background, it could be, you know, having a vision, in other words, having, you know, something appear in front of you. But there's this other use of the word vision, which is about envisioning. It's about seeing myself in a new way, seeing the world in a new way. How would you understand this word vision?
Well, yeah, I mean, I myself have talked about it a lot. And the path of spirituality always encourages us to have a positive vision. So how I've understood it is, as much as possible, to keep this third eye very clean, very positive, and to try and really see the goodness in every situation and in everyone. Now, I know that it's not always possible, but I think that's something that this COVID has. I mean, I wanted to say actually when you asked the first question that there's been also many good stories, Philippa. They're not all stories of gloom and doom. I mean, many people have discovered themselves, have found like profit and loss, things like that. But in terms of vision, yeah, I think it's really to keep that positive outlook. It's to keep that positive attitude. In Hindi, we say drishti and vritti. Vritti is attitude, drishti is vision, and they rhyme. And then as is your vision, as is your attitude, then so becomes your kriti, which is your actions. So they all tie in together, as is your state of mind, as you see things, so you project, and so you act out, and so you create your reality in this way. So for me, vision is I think the vision that we're talking about today, if I've understood clearly, is all of those things.
And you're saying about the third eye, and in a way, this is like the inner eye. It's the eye of the soul. It's the eye of the inner being. And thank you for picking us up on, the fact that it hasn't all been doom and gloom, because that's a very good example of, not just focusing on the obvious, but looking beyond that. And in many ways, the fact that we've been holding all these Zoom webinars with people from all around the world, that has, of course, been another silver lining. So many new shoots and opportunities have sprung up as a result of this. But staying with you, Aruna, because in your introduction talked about you being exposed to meditation from a very young age, and at the age of 14 having a strong sense of what your life was going to be about. Can you share what that was and what that feeling was of knowing yourself and knowing what your path was going to be, or having a sense of it at least?
Yes, I guess it was this sense of I couldn't just live for myself. I felt that my life was to serve, my life was to share, my life was to give. And so that has kind of been the bedrock of all the other work, that I cannot just choose in this lifetime to be selfish and to just think about my happiness, but my happiness is in the happiness of others. And so I know I was quite young. It must have been some previous calling, I guess, but that was, I would say, the foundation for why I started the spiritual
So a
journey.
life of service, really. A life of giving and sharing with others, which of course is what you have gone on to do. And you, when we look at the things that you've done in your life, it does seem as if the grass hasn't grown under your feet for very long. You've had this high drive to create, to achieve, and to sort of move around the world, spreading your joy and your sense of service, as you're describing. Would you say, looking back over those years, that there has always been a clear vision of your next step, or is it something that has just unfolded one day at a time, 1 year at a time, and opportunities presented? I'm wondering how much you directed all of that and how much it just happened to you.
Yeah, none of it, Philippa. It's just all so organic. Even somebody wrote to me 2 days ago, and I replied by saying, well, life just happened. And it's true. I didn't plan to be an author. I didn't plan to be a speaker. I didn't plan to be in the Middle East. It was just a ripple effect. One thing led to another, and I was just open. I think that's the key. Just be open for the next challenge. Just be open to the discovery. And yeah, you just never know. And the fact that, I was traveling from such a young age, I think that really helped me to open my mind to different cultures, different ways. So it's not just one way, growing up in England or US, you might think, well, we know better, but there's so many ways to live. And everybody's right. Everybody's got their way to live. So it really did open my mind up from a very early age, and I'm so grateful for that. But no, definitely nothing was pre-planned.
It is interesting, Judy, isn't it? because in a way what Aruna is saying is that what she was clear on was the flavor, the sort of the energy, the feel of what she was wanting. And by sitting with that clarity, then opportunities came, and I guess she was able to recognize them when they did come. Is that a balance that you can help people find, or a path that you can navigate, this difference between knowing in general terms what your vision for yourself is, but not knowing the details and just being open to that coming to you?
From my experience, I found that there's probably about 3 different ways to discover your vision for yourself. And mine has never been planning. Like Aruna, it's all been pretty organic, but I've noticed that there are three different, and using them organizationally as well as a facilitator. So, a quick example as a facilitator, it used to be in organizations, when you do strategic planning, you start with your vision, and that would be, okay, what do we see 10 years from now? What do we see us doing? What do we see us being? And that was great for activating the imagination, but it's really hard to see 10 years down the line for most of us. So I discovered it would turn into a bit of a wish list thing, like, well, we'd like to be doing this, and we'd like to be beating so-and-so. And I did it. Instead, when the question is asked about, well, when have you been happiest? Or when have you been proudest of your organization? So both at an organizational and personal level, for me, one of the methods is to reflect on when have I been happiest? Or in the organizational setting, when have we been proudest to work for this company or this organization? When have we felt best about ourselves? Any of those kinds of questions lead me to discover when I'm happiest. And I'm usually happiest when I'm doing what I'm built to do. So this idea that inside each of us is this little DNA, this little inherent internal ticking little purpose that will not stop. It will express itself. It will find a way to express itself. And if I just look at my track record, I'll discover, oh, those moments I was happiest, indicators as to what inside of me is just who I am. Therefore, I will be happiest when I express it. And it's not a direct, like Aruna says, it's pretty organic. It can go here, there, and everywhere, but it's always you. Like Aruna, would I have ever thought I'm an author? Is there ever a job description that says co-creating experiential learning opportunities for individuals in all cultures of the world, and spiritually, or, fill in the blanks? Was there a job description for what I do now? No. And at some point, I discovered that I'm really interested in harmony. And this thing came into my head, what you're all about is co-creating harmony at the highest frequency. And it was sort of like a little mantra that came into my head about 20 years ago when I was facilitating the self-managing leadership program. And this was with business executives in Europe. And then I was asked to go to the Girl Scouts of America, to 13-year-old girls, and use the same program with them. And it was fantastic because the conversation of the business professionals and the 13-year-old girls was exactly the same. What am I going to do? What am I going to be? And this program turned it into, when are you happiest? When are you proudest of what you're doing or of your organization? And just changing the question like that creates a whole different resource. It brings a whole different set of data to the table, or data, depending on your country, to look at. So anyways, that's one for me. And the other one is, well, there were 3 I said. The other one is opposition creates your position. So you know what you don't want, and the more you live, the more you know what you don't want. And I think for me, I had many intense experiences where I did not want to be doing what I was doing. And it helped me clarify. At least by knowing what I didn't want, it helped clarify what I wanted, And the third for me has always been, is something about, there's this intuitive inner voice that even if you can't hear it, still has a bit of a steering function in my life. And if I can, I'll just share one little story. When I was 13, I read Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography cover to cover, and it was the really big fat one. 13, little girl, little white girl, born and raised in a suburban little enclave of a very ranch cowboy part of Canada. And I had no connection to this part of the world. And then I read everything I could get my hands on about Freedom at Midnight, the story of partition of India. And it was like I was in the room. I knew what Jinnah's face looked like, the first president of Pakistan. I knew what Nehru was thinking. And it was like 13-year-old girl. My parents thought I was nuts. I thought I was nuts. It had no connection to my family. I grow up 30 years later, I'm working all over Southeast Asia, Latin America, and I say there's only one place on earth I will never go, that's India. And then I start meditating with the Brahma Kumaris, and how many times have I been to India? So an example of, there's this little inner voice, you know, and I'm doing these things that make no sense in the context in which I'm in, which made me feel like a black sheep and a nonconformist and I don't fit, but actually was something in me that needed to be expressed, that was about to be discovered, a thread of something I had to follow, even when I actively thought I didn't want to. So I think that that's in all of us. So if the question is, how do we know a vision of what we're going to be or what we're going to do? For me, those have been the three, and actively using these as a facilitator with organizations and individuals to help them discover their purpose.
Wow. I think it's going to take me the next hour to fully digest what
I
you've
know,
just
I'm
said.
sorry.
Because that was so, it was so rich and it just flowed out of you. And I'm scribbling my notes here frantically. Co-creating harmony at the highest frequency,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah. Now, is there a job description for that? No. but
No.
but like Aruna,
I
that's
love
the
it.
thing that
I love
came
it.
for me.
Now, I want to come back to Aruna, but before I do, I think you touched on so many things there, but one which I really liked was this idea of what makes me happy. Because I think so often growing up, we get messages from our family, from our friends, from society to say, you will be deemed successful if you have a good job, if you look the right way, if you're, you know, seen to be an upright, standing member of society or whatever. And also other people have hopes for our life. And without realizing, we can find ourselves falling in line with other people's visions for us. And yet this little mantra of yours of what is it that's making me happy? You know, really, when I sit in my quiet moments and look back over my time, when have I felt at my happiest? This is such a lovely guiding principle. And I also like this thing that you're alluding to, which is that there is almost a creative intelligence out there in the universe that I can tap into, and that if I begin to listen to those whispers, I can maybe catch a few signals as to what is my next step, or what it is I should be doing in this moment. And that's a lovely principle too. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Aruna, do you want to respond to any of those points that Judy was just making? Because there were a lot there, weren't there?
Yeah, there's a lot there, and triggered things in me too. I think the other thing also, Judy, don't you think? There's also the element of destiny. I mean, even though you might fight something to not do it or not want it or not go there, but if it's meant to be in your destiny, you will end up there, you see? And I know, again, you can say, well, it's your subconscious choosing, etc. But again, it's not in your hands. That's the point I'm making. It's not in our conscious hands, but it's all just happening. And the other thing I want to say is regarding my path, Philippa, I mean, yes, happiness is one virtue, but I think spirituality has taught us it's not so much about what you do, but how you be and how you are. So that's kind of what Judy's saying. Am I happy? Happy is one virtue. But I think this got kind of, reinforced in me at a young age also. So that's why I think it wasn't so important where I was or what I was doing. Where I was going, who I was with, but am I happy? Am I feeling free? Am I feeling powerful inside? Am I feeling kind? I mean, it's really that centering that the meditation provides. So am I feeling an embodiment of all these qualities? And that's what makes us happy. I think that's what makes me happy, is not about being right, but about being kind. And then you feel that you're fulfilling your purpose, because that beingness is our main purpose. It's not about, as you said, the titles, the labels that we wear, but what we share.
It was something I heard, and I've shared before on these programs, that if someone is feeling a sense of anxiety or overwhelmed from all the stress of everything, that is releasing hormones into your body that is the kind of fight or flight or fear hormones. And the way to override that is through simple acts of kindness, because that produces the feel-good hormones, which give us that warm fuzzy glow of knowing that we've done something good. And there is a beautiful quality to knowing that you are doing what in that moment you are meant to be doing, and that what you're doing is making a difference to others. This is coming back to your idea, Aruna, of service, and feeling that you're able to uplift those around you through your own actions. But I wonder, in your life, how it feels to you when you have a moment of having that sense of being guided, of having that sense of destiny calling to you. And the other part of that question is, have you also had an experience of being in a place of desperation, of not being able to feel connected to yourself, of not being able to feel connected to the divine or to the benevolence that is in the universe? And how have you got yourself out of that place?
So maybe I'll answer the second part first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually I did, when I was about 19, 20, I did have a little depression. And actually I didn't even know it was depression. So here I am, I've been meditating, and I actually went to the States. And when I came back to London, then yeah, I went through this period. It was about 6-7 months of just waking up and feeling exactly that, no sense of purpose. Like, why am I waking up? What am I going to do today? And it felt like a long, drawn out day, you know, without joy, without, as you say, any vision, any purpose. And you know what got me out of it is, as you said, helping others. So what happened is that I was asked to come and work in the London office of the Brahma Kumaris. And so I started helping full time. And I don't know how the depression went. I didn't take any tablets, you know, it wasn't that extreme. But it just gave me, yes, this joy and this fulfillment of making a difference. Like they say, you know, you can't help millions, but help the one in front of you. So even if we can help the neighbor, like, you know, in the Bible it says help the neighbor, but the neighbor is not just the one next door, it's the one in the queue, it's the one on the road, in the car next to you, it's anybody next to you. So if I can make a difference to them, then yes, that really is a joy. And what was your other question about the holding the vision, right?
About and feeling guided from the helping hand from above.
Yeah, yes. So that I have felt. And how you know that you're being guided, Philippa, is I feel everything just falls into place. It doesn't feel like effort, doesn't feel like labor, doesn't feel like struggle. So as Judy was saying, it's this co-creation. You have a thought, and then there's the divine intervention, and the universe conspires. Everything just comes together to make it happen. And then you know that it's meant to be. And you don't have to, you know, work hard to make it happen. Because when you're having to really hit that rock, it means that you're trying to, create something that's not meant to be. And then you have to reassess. You have to review.
And is that a quality that you use in your writing? Because, you know, you write, is it every month you're writing your blog? But you're doing a lot of writing. And I wonder if you've almost trained yourself to open your mind and just allow yourself to receive and almost become like a channel so that it writes itself through you. Is that an experience you have?
See, with the writing, honestly speaking, I really do it for me, because every week I kind of set this intention that, okay, what shall I write about? But it's not just what shall I write about? It's like, okay, what shall I be experiencing this week? So in other words, I'm trying to keep my antennas out for something that I'm feeling or getting kind of a sense of, you know. And I mean, what I'm trying to say is I try to be in awareness, in this awareness of what is something great, something positive, something elevated. And I must say the writing has really helped me in my spiritual progress, because it has just kept me focused on that, you know, positivity or some elevated thought, let's say, divine thought, as opposed to getting caught up in gossip or, you know, negative talk, or, you know, being brought down by what's happening. So the writing has really helped me. So I keep this aim every week. Okay, what shall I write about next? And then I'm kind of got my antennas out for what can I pick up? What's a story I can pick up? What's the lesson here? What's the goodness in this? And that's how I actually do. And you're right, Philippa, sometimes I just put my hands on the keyboard, honestly, and I have a moment's meditation, and honestly, they type away themselves, and I don't even know what's, you know, being written until I read it. So I have had moments, not all the time, but I have had moments of that as well. So that also you need to trust and allow.
I have heard writers talk about this before, that, you know, as they're writing a novel or a play, they're as surprised as anyone at what their character says or does, and that it's almost, you know, it's got a life of its own and they're just the channel for it. And presumably it not just in writing, but we can apply this technique to our lives, whatever it is that we're doing, if we can learn to be open to this touching that can be in our life. And it's interesting, Judy, hearing Aruna talk about her experience of being 19 and having depression. And I would say that, you know, the only moment in my life when I have experienced depression was when I was 18, and I was traveling, and I was in a kind of a limbo state, and feeling frustrated with the way things were going. And I did have some, it probably wasn't more than a couple of weeks, but I would call it depression. But what came immediately on the back of that was a moment of the most intense enlightenment probably of my life. And I think often there is a relationship between adversity and breakthrough and moments of insight and light bulb moments. And I wonder if this applies to the COVID situation that we're in at the moment, that yes, there have been times of adversity, but to try and reframe that and see within that what perhaps is the catalyst for change that might not have happened if I hadn't had this grit, this grit that can make a pearl, if I hadn't had this moment of negativity in the first place. How would you work with adversity to create something positive? Yeah,
Me?
Judy. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
how would I work with adversity to make something positive? Gosh, I feel like we do that every day, don't we? Bad things happen all the time, you know, at an individual level, and I guess for me, the attitude towards bad things, whether it's a big bad thing like COVID or a little bad thing like, you know, my car got banged up, you know, like bad things are happening all the time. I guess the attitude that I find helpful is I'm always looking for, well, what benefit did this bad thing bring? So I won't debate the bad thing. It exists, no question. But what good came from the bad thing? So someone borrowed my car, crashed it completely, destroyed it while I was away. And I came home to find I had no car. And, you know, I had that, you know, and then I thought instantly, it's like I've trained myself enough to go, okay, what's going to be the benefit that comes from? There's got to be some benefit. Well, within less than 36 hours, I had a better car. Much better car, an upgrade on the old car because I had to go out and get one. But the insurance paid for it, plus a little help from the person who destroy it. So in the end, I have this fantastic car, and it's a better car than the one I had. And so for me, that kind of always plays out, but sometimes it takes a long time. So that 36-hour turnaround was really great, but the attitude is the same. So sometimes I have to hold the attitude longer, and that's the challenge. Because after, say, 3 weeks or 6 months or a year and a half or 12 years, say, in a certain relationship that is still sorting itself out, you go, really? Like, couldn't we have benefit now? Isn't it time for the benefit? But not yet. So there's something about the attitude is the same, looking for the benefit in adversity. One of my daughters is a photographer, and I notice when we go take pictures together with our cell phones, you know, the same scene, her picture's amazing, my picture looks flat, boring, ugly. It's the same thing. And, you know, I'll ask her, what did she do? And it's always this secret of foreground and background. And I think that's what we do in meditation. I mean, the background's still there. COVID's still there. My crashed car is still there, whatever it is. But I get to choose what's the foreground, right? And I zoom in on the foreground, pardon the pun. But, you know, where is the benefit in this situation? Is an attitude that I think helps us not just make the best of adversity, but thrive within adversity, because thriving is a very personal thing. You know, adversities can be shared and collective, but thriving is very much based on my attitude and how I work with myself and my own feeling of hope or my own feeling of despair. I have 2 kids, and when they grew up, we read lots and lots of books aloud. I read lots of books aloud. And one of them was this great book, and the first line of it was, believing is seeing. And children get this instantly, right? Whereas adults, you know, it's like seeing is believing, but no, believing is seeing. And this whole book was about, if you believe in fairies, then you'll see them. If you believe in whatever. And I think this is true in life. If I believe in goodness, I'll see it. It will become the foreground. If I believe that people are untrustworthy, I will see it. It will be my foreground. That it's my belief. It's sort of like the camera lens that zooms in, that focuses in on any situation. And so I guess whether it's a belief or just I choose the attitude of there will be benefit in everything. Let me find it quickly and make it my foreground. And then I'll live in the foreground and I'll be happier. I'll thrive.
But believe and you will see, absolutely. And so if we apply that principle to ourselves and our lives, what is the mechanism that is at play when we hold a particular focus or a particular vision? Are we drawing that towards ourselves, or are we just open to seeing it more because we've identified it as something that we want to see? What for you is the sort of the psychological game or the game of reality that we're playing when we hold a particular vision and hold a particular intention?
I think Aruna should answer that one.
Aruna, the ball has been for you.
Yeah, as you were speaking, Philip, I was thinking vision is really like a seed. And so the seed has to be planted and then it has to be nurtured. And so all of us will have a certain vision, right? We all, as Judy was saying, in the knowingness or knowing of what we don't want, we know what we want. And so inside, intuitively, we all know what we want. So maybe we want more peace and love. Maybe we want respect. Maybe we want an easy life. Maybe we want comfort. Maybe we want lightness and joy. So we all know kind of what we want. So then I plant that seed. Now for me, really meditation is where I water that seed, because just as the seed, you know, needs that still earth, you can't keep, you know, shoveling the earth all the time. Once you've planted it, you have to plant it and let it be. So then in the stillness of my mind, where I've planted the seed, then every day I just water that seed with attention. And then, you know, this is what I keep in the forefront of my mind and say, okay, I know this is happening, but this is what I want. And so just keep watering, because we all know this expression, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, life grows. So whatever I put my attention to, that is what I'm giving energy to. And so why not to give it to something more divine, more elevated, more pure? Because we all have attention to give. So let's give it to something that's going to be of benefit to me and not to my detriment.
I think
The image that's
just
coming
to-
into my mind. Oh, Judy's ready to speak. Go for it, Judy.
Sorry, yeah. I just add to that. I think the plant, the watering the seed is beautiful, and I think that where vision comes in for me is that I think I've discovered through meditation that my mind follows a picture, and when I create pictures of what I want, I naturally gravitate towards it. You know, and as Aruna said, we grow what we pay attention to. But, you know, if I say, don't get angry to myself, the picture in my head is me getting angry. And don't doesn't have a picture. So even in self-change, you know, if I'm speaking to myself with this language, don't do that, stop doing this, you know, that what I'm doing is I'm reinforcing in my subconscious mind the image of that thing I don't want. So in planting a seed, say, of peace or of a happy future, or fulfilling my purpose and living, you know, my best life, being my best self. Whatever seed I plant, the watering of it includes, I think, creating pictures of it, and that's what vision is. It's like we can actually create a picture in our mind of what we want, and then it feels very real. And it's the feeling I feel that drives me. That feeling is like fuel, and it keeps moving me in the direction towards it. So things will come and I'll still have to make a choice at a crossroads, but somehow my feeling will be so attuned in the right direction that I'll choose wisely.
And also,
No, I get that.
can I add, Philippa?
Yeah, please.
Just, to add to Judy, when I also envision or do these meditations or workshops, I ask people to envision the end result. Like, it's not just envisioning the growth of it or getting there or the journey, but envision that you're, or like if somebody wants to be slim, envision that you are already slim. Like, just keep that in your forefront. And that's what you're, you know, that's what you're watering. And the thing is, it's back to this thing of, if I believe it, if I believe I'm that, then yes, there's more chances of me making it happen, as opposed to doubt.
No, I like that. And I don't know if you've experienced, but sometimes you have to have a vision of the thing that you're looking for in order to then see it. So say, for instance, you're looking for a particular book, and you're remembering the book as having a blue spine, and you're looking everywhere for a book with a blue spine, and you just cannot find it. And it's because your vision of the book is not correct. The book has actually got an orange spine, and you've gone past it several times, but you didn't see it because your vision was looking for a blue spine. And there's that story as well, I don't know if it's true or not, of the native South Americans when the big ships came, and they weren't able to see them because they had no concept of a ship that could sail, or a concept of a boat that was big, and therefore they just didn't see them because it wasn't in their vision, it wasn't in their consciousness that something like that could exist. And so this, in a way, is part of what you're saying, is if we can learn to bring something into our conscious mind and hold a vision of it, then when we do see it, we'll recognize it and manifest it. I mean, we're talking about manifestation really here.
But one other thing, Philip, I think it's important that we need to touch upon is adaptation. Like, you can have the vision, but you have to adapt with it and not be rigid, because it's a bit like, if it's not my way, it's the highway, you know? And if I'm not able to be flexible and fluid, then again, I struggle. So it's not that I have to have that. Maybe life wants to offer me something better. You know, maybe you're asking for $1,000, but you know, maybe God wants to give you 10,000, but you're stuck on the 1,000, and so you're waiting for the 1,000, and then it never happens. So we have to also be open. I mean, I'm sharing from my experience that just be open to what you can have a plan and you can have a vision, but then be open to what the drama proposes to you, the drama of life. And when that all works together, then that's really magnificent. It's beautiful.
I think that's why it's very important that the vision not be physical. I think there's something about the wanting to be happy or wanting to fulfill my destiny. These are intuitive. These are internal. It's not like I want a house, although I know people use it to manifest a house. You know, visualize it, imagine it. But I think that when it's based on something internal, like quality or an intuitive sense of something, then it is easy to adapt, as you're saying, Aruna, because it doesn't come packaged in the package I thought it would. It comes like this, and this is wonderful. And I don't recognize it maybe instantly, that this is the gift I was asking for on my journey. And then it becomes a bridge to something. So, yeah.
But see, even if we ask enough whys, why do I want the house? You know, and at the end of enough whys, you will come to some non-physical quality. So maybe it's security, maybe
Security,
it's
yeah.
So it's not always about, you know, the physical. And I think that's what people need to get clear. It's what I'm seeking for in that physical, even in a companion. I may say, oh, I want a relationship, but what do you want from that? Maybe again, you want some love, maybe you want some companionship, but it's always non-physical that we want. And we've got to be clear on that. It's because the physical cannot give us everything. Physical has its limitations. And so we've got to be looking at the quality. But then again, what we realize is, well, I have that quality inside of me. That which I'm looking for outside, I have inside of me. And actually, I remember a very beautiful quote from Rumi, that you are not a drop in the ocean, but you are the ocean in the drop. So in other words, you have everything inside of you. Everything that you need is right here inside of you.
Wow, such wisdom pouring out of both of you. Can I, Judy, just put to you a scenario which I'm imagining is maybe going on, or at least I'm hoping is going on at the organizational level, because, you know, we're emerging from a culture where people are holding visions for bettering themselves. They're holding visions for being the most successful company, for, you know, outdoing the competition. And what I think we've learned from this whole COVID experience is actually our connections with each other, our relationships with each other are what is so crucial, and that it's really collaboration that is going to hold us to a future vision rather than competition and self-interest. Am I just wishful thinking here, or do you think we are on the cusp of realizing that, you know, as a global community, we now have to move towards a shared vision of our global future, and that it's not enough for any one company or country or any single anything to just look out for themselves, that we need to expand our vision to include everybody? Do you see that going on?
I do see it going on, actually. It makes me feel very inspired. And I think this is a time of awakening to that reality. I actually think it's very astute self-interest to be invested in the collective. I think it's a folly not to be. I think that the only way an individual does well, and we watch this, is when they are connected in some way to a community. We watch this when people have hard things happen in their lives, and you see with one person that people flock to help them. You know, there's financial support, there's food coming to their door, and then somebody else might experience the same difficulty and they find themselves completely alone. And you look and you can see who naturally evokes a giving response. It's those that have been giving, those that have been involved in community, those that have been sharing and caring for a collective. I think naturally they do then receive in times of need. So the States has a gentleman, he's an economist, who I really like reading his stuff. His name's Charles Eisenstein. And he has said that, you know, he's drawn our attention to the fact that the only way we could grow our economy now is if we start monetizing things we didn't pay for before. And that's how we grow the economy. So we're not actually producing new things. We're just paying for things that we didn't pay for before, like childcare, like water, the list goes on. And that actually the only way to really invest in the economy is to create collective sharing communities. That doesn't mean like communes or anything. It just means that you have the informal network of sharing and exchanging and giving, which happens in any vibrant community. I think many of us live in, you know, cities where there isn't so much community feeling. I'm lucky I live in a relatively small city and there's a great sense of community sharing here. But I think in any of our groups, we can create that. In any of our groups, if it's just a small group of friends, you know, the feeling of caring for the collective is there. And it's what
So
we
that's a
need.
question.
And everyone's realizing that's what we need. Who else is going to take care of us but each other in a way?
And, you know, our fate is in each other's hands. There were some very stirring words, I don't know if you heard them this week, from the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, talking about the environment, actually, but you could put the same on other issues. He said, let's face facts. The state of our planet is broken. Humanity is waging war on nature. Nature always strikes back. Biodiversity is collapsing. Deserts are spreading. Oceans are choking with plastic waste. Soon we will have more plastic in the ocean than fish. And Prince William this week has also been talking about a decade of change. And, you know, in a way, what they're saying is that, you know, we now need to have a vision for how we're going to move humanity forwards. And people with vision, I guess, Aruna, you could say, are people who are going to make good leaders. And I wonder for you, where our vision for how we as a global community move forwards now, where do you see that coming from? Is it coming from our political leaders, or is it coming from grassroots movements of change and awakening and finding new visions? Where do you see the green shoots as being?
Okay, a few things to share. Firstly, see, Philippa, when people complain about something, they're complaining because they see a better way of doing it, or they see something better besides it. And this is why I encourage, like, when somebody's complaining, I try to inquire and I try to get to the bottom of what they're really seeing, but it's coming out as a complaint. So for example, I say, oh, this place is dirty. So obviously they see that it could be a cleaner place or a tidier place or more systematic, whatever. So in the complaining or in the, you know, criticizing of what the world is like, again, I would say people can see that there is something that could be bettered. That's the first point. And then I want to say that I think, Philippa, we need to trust. I think we need to trust each other because we've all been hurt. We've all been wounded. We've tried to trust governments. We've tried to trust, well, I don't want to name, but just, you know, different systems. And it hasn't always worked. And now I think what the need is it is this spiritual awakening that, you know what, we have all got to do this for ourselves. Like, if I don't chip in, if I don't give my finger of cooperation, then nothing's going to happen. Like, there's got to be a sense of self-responsibility and not leaving it to others. Like, we have left it to others for too long, that they will repair it, or the scientists know what they're doing, or you know, as I said, the governments know what they're doing. But no, let me start in my own little neighborhood, you know, making the changes that I want to see in the world. And in a way, this is also what's happening in India with Modi ji's, you know, clean up campaign. He's just basically saying, just clean your front yard. If everybody just cleans their front yard, then, you know, India will become a cleaner place. So I think if we can just start with that, what difference can I make? What can I add? Just my little bit. And if everybody adds that drop to the ocean, then yes, we'll have that collective. But it's no longer that time to leave it to others. That's my point. We all have to chip in and make that difference in whatever way we know, whether it's, you know, giving meditation vibes, whether it's, you know, saying nice words, or actually getting into physical action, cleanup action.
It's the individual process of change, and putting that change then into action that is going to bring about
because
a bigger change.
About like we say, who ruined the world? We did. Nobody, no alien came from outside and ruined our planet, right? Or abused the planet, or as we said, threw the plastic in the ocean. So we did it. We're all guilty. And so we have to wake up. This is the awakening. Let me wake up and let me do my bit. And then we'll be at peace, because my conscience will be at peace. So if each one does their bit, I think that will go a long way.
And Judy, this really is where meditation comes in, because it's within the process of meditation that we make these connections between our own individual actions and the world out there. You know, we see the cause and effect, we see the power of our thoughts and how they manifest. And I wonder how your life and your work has changed since you've brought meditation as a very strong focus. What difference would you say that has made to the way you work and work with other people?
Good question. I think I probably planned a lot more before meditating, you know, linear Gantt chart, you know, thinking a lot. And now I think, to the point of visualization, I spend a lot of time, I do the work, I prepare things, but I always had a good sense of feeling the pulse. What are people thinking? What are they feeling? What do they need? I always had that. It's much more fine-tuned now. I can see that and pick that up quite easily. But I can instead, you know, I read the documents, I do all the work that's required, but then I actually just sit quietly and visualize what it will look like, the intervention requested, if it's a strategic planning process, or if it's a team, you know, development, or if it's just even the individual leader, helping them be a better leader in their organization. And I spend more time just quietly sitting with them in my mind and kind of feeling what it would look like. So it's funny to combine feeling and looking, but it is the right side of the brain, the whole visual aspect of our thinking. And I just sort of sit with it. And if we did this, what would it look like? And I play it through in my mind. And I can see, oh yeah, they wouldn't like that. That would be really hard for them. Maybe this, or so I spend a lot more time quietly visualizing. And I think it paves pathways that are easier. So when I get there, it's already played out in my mind. It's not like I know how it's going to go, but it's more like I've mapped the terrain before I get there. And it's very different thinking. It's softer. It feels kinder. It's wiser. It feels more holistic. It's hard to give it words. And I trust that whatever somebody's creating in their organization, or whatever they're doing in their leadership, I trust that there's something that they are looking for, and that this leadership role is just helping them find it. You know, that it's just a vehicle, just as their organization's a vehicle for them to play out whatever it is in them they are attempting to express, you know, that DNA that's in them. So I don't know, it's more interesting. It's less work and it's more interesting. I don't know if that answers it for you.
No, it does. It sounds like you're actually using your faculty of visualization to create an energy for that change to happen, because you're holding the intention and you're holding the space that enables the shifts to occur.
Yes. Yes, and I think that without knowing it, I think bigger things are possible than I did before. I worked at this company that ended up becoming one of the, they win awards for best company in Canada or something. And I remember when I started with them, it was before I began meditating. And the leader wanted a values-based organization that was reflective of, the values he wanted to live. And it was a small group, and somehow we managed to achieve that, but they kept growing and they kept growing. And then I started meditating. And each time they go to the next level, 100 people. Oh, and then it's 200 people. They kept getting bigger and bigger. And each time he would think, well, we can't do it now. Like, we're way too big to be values-based now. And each time I would just sit quietly in meditation. I think, well, no, I don't. Yeah, we could still do this. And I don't think that would have been in me before. I think before I would have had a much more limited sense of, yeah, he's probably right. This won't work with 100 or 200, but it just kept working. And so I think feeling the greater sense of possibility has come through meditation as well.
A real sense of
It's helpful.
spaciousness
It's helpful. Yeah, it's helpful.
Possibility and potential. We're coming around to our moment for meditation, but before we get there, Aruna, I wonder what you would say to anyone who is feeling a disconnection with where they're at now and a sense of hope for the future. And I loved what you said just a moment ago about taking responsibility as an individual and doing what I can, cleaning up what's in front of my own front yard. But is there a way in which we can scale up this this practice that you're talking about and apply it to the whole world situation? If enough people really begin living in this way, begin visualizing a cleaner world, a world that's more harmonious, do you really in your heart of hearts believe that we as humanity have it in our power to do what needs to be done to make that difference? Is there hope?
Yes, I do feel that. As they also say, Philippa, like, if all else fails, at least there is hope. But no, I believe that yes, if enough people do it, then we create that critical mass, and that creates a shift in consciousness. So I really believe in that, and I've seen that in some cases already. So, but I think for a global change, we need to reach a much higher critical mass. And in terms of, answering your question, I just always feel that to give hope to people, I feel like always trust that you will have the power to deal with what comes in front of you. This is my experience, and this is really my message to you, that we don't always know how we're going to deal with things, but just know, just stay. And actually, Philip, I wanted to say we didn't really touch upon the heart. I think you need a heart, to have a very positive vision. It's not just all about the head. So be in touch with your heart, be in touch with your head, and just trust that, you will have the power to deal with whatever comes in front of you. That's all I can say. We can't plan these catastrophes ahead of time. But when they do happen, then suddenly, all kinds of instincts emerge from all of us. The giving, the caring, the kindness, they just project out of us, and we make it happen. We clean up the world, or we help others, we clean up communities, save other people. So just trust that, you'll have the power to deal with it.
I love that, because we have talked about finding a vision for ourselves, and the path will open up when we're in the right place and it's the right time, and we have to trust that the same is happening on a global level. Before your final words, Judy, I've got this quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote the Women Who Run with the Wolves book. And she's saying, when a great ship is in harbour and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt, but that is not what great ships are built for. And for me, what that means is that, you know, we were made for these times. We have greatness within us. And if we hold a real vision of our greatness, of our potential, and of you know, a vision of how the world is moving forwards, then, you know, that greatness is going to be what we see unfolding. Any final thoughts from you on that?
Yes, I think to see ourselves as creating this change, things may seem to be happening to us, but in our hearts, what do we really, really want? And we want simplicity. We want the world to pull together. We want unity. We want respect and kindness. All of these things have emerged during this time. Also a great deal of fear. So to Aruna's point, that fear might be our greatest obstacle, and love then would be the cure. And so all of us, the healing that needs to happen in all of us, so that what comes out of us is love, if not in equal measure, in much greater measure than the fear that is also provoked. And I think we would all share that love would be fundamental, fear would be add-on. So we're clearing away some of the add-ons, but boy, is it intense while it's getting cleared. And so just to understand the difference between what's original to me and what's add-on. And I think the fear that we're all seeing is pretty intense right now. But the understanding that what we really want is underneath that, and that's love. So thank you.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, Aruna, you prompted us to get heart-centered, that we have an overused mind and an underused heart. So let's get into our hearts now with a meditation. And I know that you meditate every day, and that you can lead us into the heart of that experience for our closing few minutes. And if you could share that heart love with us, that would just be great.
Okay, thank you. So yes, let us just sit very comfortably. Try not to hold on to anything. Just relax the body, the toes, the legs, your torso. Just relax the shoulders. And just relax all the facial muscles. So if you feel like a strain on your forehead, just lighten up. Just relax. And for a few moments now, we're going to step inside to our inner world. Our inner world of thoughts and feelings. So I'd like you to check now. How are you feeling? Just try to tap into a feeling, not just good or bad, but try to identify it, add an adjective. Just try and get in touch with yourself. How am I feeling right now? So perhaps many are feeling peaceful. Perhaps a few are feeling agitated. And if that's the case, just say to yourself, quietly in your mind, that I am a calm and peaceful being. My original nature is to be a calm and peaceful being. And now I would like you to visualize your ideal you. Each one of us can perfect ourselves. So I don't want to really use the word perfection, but when you think of you, what is the ideal you? Maybe you visualize a very calm person, relaxed, approachable, soft-spoken. So just focus on that. Focus on some positive, ideal quality that is you. And then I'd like you to just see yourself as this being, this person in the future. So I'd like you to see that you have already become a calm and peaceful being. In other words, it's a done deal. You don't have to get there. You are that. So just feel what that feels like. And just try and hold on to that feeling that I have achieved that which I wanted. And let us come back again to the center of the forehead, which is the seat of the soul. And this is where I create my vision. And this is from where I color my world. This is that spark. The soul is that spark. So I'd like you to really feel the distinction between the soul and the body. The body is made of flesh and bone, but the soul is a spark, a living spark of light. Just try and feel that for a moment. Feel the enormity of your power as a soul, beyond time, beyond space, free, liberated, eternal. Everything that the body is not. And just feel your inner power. And know that you have the pen with which to color your world, to create your vision. And it is simply up to me. Just this thought is extremely empowering. That I have the pen to choose. Just stay in this feeling for a moment. Thank you. Om Shanti. Om means I am, and Shanti means a peaceful being.
Thank you so much, Aruna. Om Shanti. Absolutely taking us into the heart of the experience of everything that we have been talking about during our session today. And it really does feel a huge honor to have been in the company of such wisdom from both of you today. It's going to take me at least a fortnight to really digest all the points that have been shared. And I hope everyone listening has felt equally inspired to look at their own lives and to create a sense of a vision for their life and for the life of all of us going forwards. So Aruna Ladva in Kuwait, Judy Johnson in Halifax, Canada, bless you, go well. Thank you so much for your company in our session today. And hopefully we'll be together again very soon. Thank you so much. And join us if you can. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Aruna. Join us if you can in a fortnight's time, Thursday, the 17th of December, when we're going to be taking our idea of a vision and really running with it in the community, seeing how we can affect our immediate communities. Our theme for the next session, connection, community, and co-creation. So join us then. Until then, take good care. And from the three of us, goodbye. And over to Yelena.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Philip.
you so much, Aruna and Judy and Philippa, for such a wonderful and meaningful presentation. And thank you, Hilal, for bringing this amazing opportunity our way. And a huge thank you goes to the person who orchestrated the whole series for us, Margaret Baron, who has also been studying Raja Yoga meditation with Brahma Kumaris universities for over 25 years. Well, thank you very much to all the participants. We hope this program was worth of your time. And we are looking forward to seeing you again at our next session, as Philippa said, on December 17. And it's called Connection, Community, and Co-Creation. Have a great day, evening, and night, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.